Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ringside Rundown podcast. My name is Eric Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime, coming straight from the Berg. She is none other than Shay Hickson. Shay, what's going on, my friend?
Not much. Just enjoying this lovely summer heat.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little warm. It's starting to get a little
Ugh,
cooking.
I don't like it at all. We've talked about it before. I am like a fall winter person. I'm dying, but thank
Yeah,
God for air conditioning.
yeah. That's the only thing I'm not looking forward to is having to turn on my air conditioning because as an adult, that electric bill is killer.
Yeah, it's not fun to pay, but I guess I'd rather be comfortable and have to pay than be dying of heat stroke.
I
But
I guess you're right. I guess you got to take the good with the bad, huh?
that's not, unfortunately, I feel like that's adulting in a nutshell at this rate is
Yeah,
how uncomfortable do you want to be to save some money, which is, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh
Well,
well.
well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode. For those of you that don't know, this is a pro wrestling podcast where Shay and I discuss the happenings inside the world of professional wrestling, whether it be WWE, AEW, or somewhere else. We got a lot to go over this week because this past Saturday was Money in the Bank. And we also got some questions to answer from your mom. So we have a lot to go over. Also, there was really quickly, we won't be able to cover it, but I have to mention that Worlds Collide was also on Saturday, and it is a must see event. If you have some time, take some time out of your day to check out Worlds Collide. The main event between El Hijo del Vikingo and Chad Gable was amazing. PLE worthy to the max. This probably would have killed it on like a WrestleMania. That's how good it was.
Yeah, from what I could see, obviously I was out and about all day on Saturday. I got to see some little clips here and there from what I saw. I'm like, yeah, this is the people definitely got their money's worth on this one. So
Yeah,
I would not
definitely for
complain if I
sure.
was watching that.
Definitely for sure. But like we said, it was Money in the Bank this past Saturday. Just overall, before we break it down, the event match by match, what'd you think of the show overall? Did it live up to your expectations? I know Money in the Bank, just like me, is one of your favorite PLE events of the year.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was pretty good. There were some throughout the matches. There were a couple like little quirky things here and there, but overall, I don't really feel like there was a match. I mean, it's funny to say. I don't think there was an entire match, all four of them on this card that kind of stuck out in a bad way. They were all pretty
Mm-hmm.
solid, even the ones that I wasn't particularly fond of, and I feel like we probably know which one that was. But yeah, they were all pretty good. I couldn't really complain. Had some good moments. Had like I said, solid matches. None of them are really noteworthy. They were sticking out in my mind of like this was an absolute waste of time. And when you have a 4 card pay-per-view, if you're sticking out for a bad reason, that's not good because you have nowhere to hide. So it was
Yeah.
pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely was. It was I like the fact that both ladder matches gave us something different in different ways, and we'll break that down a little later. We'll also have to mention because of Worlds Collide, there was an extra match added hours before the pay-per-view, the Money in the Bank PLE. That went down between Octagon Jr. of AAA and Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Dirty Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan were in attendance for the Worlds Collide event. And after the first match, Dirty Dom got on the mic and had some disparaging remarks for Octagon Jr., who looks up to Dirty Dom's father, who Dirty Dom claims is a deadbeat, but not
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
He's more of a legend and a Hall of Famer in Rey Mysterio. But according to Dirty Dominic, he's a deadbeat. Octagon Jr. Took offense to that, and they went to fisticuffs. And so Dominic challenged him to a match at Money in the Bank. So that was also added in the card. But before we get to there, the opening match of the event was the ladies' Money in the Bank ladder match, which saw Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Stephanie Vicaire, Alexa Bliss, Julia, and Naomi in the match. And I really enjoyed this match. I like the way it was constructed. Very interesting. They kind of neutralized Rhea Ripley early on in the match, burying her under a pile of ladders
yeah.
outside of the ring. Stephanie Vaquer, who had a massive weekend wrestling, 3 matches in under 24 hours, had a great showing as well.
Yeah, I think she needs a good nap after this weekend. She was definitely putting in the work. Yeah, it was a great way to start the show. I did feel though that this one, at least for me, compared to the men's ladder match, was a little more clunky. It seemed a little more. I think the best way I put it was more choreographed, which is like that's wrestling in a nutshell. But it seemed a little more obvious of like, oh well, we know this is coming because they're setting up for this, and I feel like the inexperience on some of the women too was a little glaring in some spots. Unfortunately,
Right.
I feel like especially with Roxanne and Julia, you could kind of tell that they weren't kind of used to the mannerisms and the quirks of maneuvering ladders and using ladders to your advantage. Like, unfortunately, the most obvious was that spot when they couldn't get the ladder to shut down on.
Yeah.
I believe that was Rhea, if I remember.
Yeah,
And
they had her sandwiched in between the ladder, and they were trying to smash her in
yeah,
between the ladder.
and on the second try, I'm just sitting there, just like hit the bearings, like just push the bearings up, guys. It's not. It's like a good heat in the moment thing, but holy shit, it's not that hard. Just like put the support beams back up. So it was a little clunky in some areas, as opposed to the men's, but it was still really solid. Everybody got put through the ringer in some way, shape,
Yeah.
or form. Especially Naomi. I feel like poor Naomi was getting the shit kicked out of her in this match in various ways. But she was also given it too. That heat seeker onto Rhea on the ladder early on in the match, I'm like, oof. And Rhea sold it well. It was brutal. There were some moments where you got to cringe a little bit, and that's what these matches are for. Is you got to get those very painful looking spots in there. And much to your chagrin, the right woman won right off the bat, and it was so it was so funny because like I said, we were kind of out and about all day. We went to the movies and whatever, and we went to dinner afterwards, and it was right when it was starting, and we just so happened to be in a like a new sports bar in town, and they actually had the pay-per-view playing up on like the big projector screen.
Wow.
So we got to at least watch a little bit of it, and I'm like, well, we're here, we might as well just, see what's going on. And I saw that they were opening with the women's match, and I said, oh, so we're gonna just ruin one of our moods right off the bat because one of us is gonna be very unhappy for the rest of the night, and the other one's gonna be pretty happy. So, needless to say, I think we know who was happy for the rest of the night and who wasn't.
Yeah,
But
yeah. You won this
uh-huh.
PLE.
Thanks Naomi, because she more than earned that. I'm glad
Yeah,
that they're
no,
giving her the chance to shine. I just hope they do it correctly or do good by
yeah.
her with this, because I'd say she's earned it.
This is going to be interesting, especially with the event coming up. You got Night of Champions coming up, and they're going to crown the king and queen of the ring at Night of Champions. And if you get crowned king and queen of the ring, you get a championship opportunity at SummerSlam. The reason I bring that up, because I'm pretty sure Jade Cargill is in the king and queen of the ring tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So she has a chance to do something like go on to SummerSlam and face like maybe a Tiffany Stratton, and maybe she wins and then Naomi cashes it in. I think
Yeah.
Naomi's holding on to that briefcase. I think we're going to see her hold on to that briefcase for quite a long time, because she seems like, especially this iteration of Naomi, seems like she is very calculated.
Yeah.
She's very strategic. She's not gonna make a haste decision. She's gonna wait to the right opportunity to cash it in. And I feel like she wants to ruin somebody's moment.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like Jade would be a very good one. If you I mean if you looked on Twitter when there was that rumor going around that I think it was leading up to and past Evolution 2, they're supposedly going to give Jade like a big push, and Naomi saw it and is like, yeah, the only push she's getting is me pushing her down the stairs or something like that. So I thought that was pretty funny, but yeah, this version of Naomi is very interesting because she's definitely unhinged but knows how
Yeah,
to play it well. So I think
yeah,
those kind of characters and those kind of like calculated kind of like personas and whatever, I think fit Money in the Bank the best because you never know what's going to happen.
Mm.
Especially with Naomi, you have no idea what she's going to do.
Yeah.
And she's going to be lurking in the wings. She's going to use it to her advantage for some mind games. She's going to get some paranoia going on, and it's exactly what she wants. But you couldn't have put it better. She's going to ruin somebody's moment because she's a little spiteful for
Yeah.
obvious reasons. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting, and I'm praying that they don't kind of continue the women's Money in the Bank curse because a good majority of the holders is they tend to not disclose, but most people tend to figure out after a while that for a little while they kind of had a bad habit of having the woman win the bank Money in the Bank briefcase and then immediately cashing it in within a week or so, sometimes
Right.
even the same night. So I'm kind of glad they've been moving away from that a little bit. So I think they'll have that on Naomi for as long as possible. I think
Yeah.
just to get the drama going.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect time. I think people recognize how hard Naomi has been working for the past couple of years for the WWE. So I think that's why people are really like, I didn't see any negative reaction to Naomi actually
No,
winning the Money in the Bank. And I got to say, this is probably my favorite iteration of Naomi because of the simple fact that you don't know what she's gonna do, you don't know what she's gonna say. I mean, for God's sake, she broke into Bianca Belair's home,
yeah.
you know, on some creepy stuff, and said that if Bianca isn't careful, she's gonna end up in a wheelchair just like her mom. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, you know,
And
like
I love that Bianca kind of played into that during this match, and she's like, "So that's how she got into the upstairs window."
yeah.
I'm like, okay, that was kind of funny. You gotta not gonna lie, but yeah,
uh,
it's definitely a wild card. You gotta keep your eyes on Naomi.
Yeah, definitely. So shout out to Naomi, this year's Miss Money in the Bank. She is the holder of the briefcase and the contract that is inside of the briefcase, which gives her a calendar year to cash in at any point in time on any champion she chooses. And with the women have 100% success rate when it
Yeah,
comes to cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase. So the odds are ever in her favor.
it
Uh,
better stay that way. I swear to God.
yeah, with 100% success rate with the cash-ins, I think it's a pretty good opportunity. Like I said, and to like what you said, also, I really hope that they extend the length of holding the briefcase and don't rush to have her cash it in. Let it be a really shocking, surprising moment, because as long as the Money in the Bank has been around, I think over 20 years now, every single
Yeah,
time it goes into usage, it's a shocking moment. So I think we want to keep that going, and Naomi can definitely pull that off when the time is right.
exactly. It's definitely gonna be some quality television, that's for sure.
For sure, for sure. Now, in the next match, like I said earlier, there was a situation
Oh
at the
wait, what about Flames? We
Oh,
need
Flames.
Flames.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes, Flames. I gave this one 3 3/4 Flames out of 5.
Starting off great. I also gave it 3 3/4 Flames.
Hey, there you
Yeah,
go.
that's more like it.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Almost forgot about the Flames.
I almost forgot myself. So
So in the next match after that one, like I said, this one had some ramifications from Worlds Collide. After the first match of Worlds Collide, Dominic Mysterio got on the mic and started browbeating the competitors, especially Octagon Jr., who happened to be a massive fan of Dirty Dom's father, who he dislikes. So they went to blows, and Dirty Dominic Mysterio challenged Octagon Jr. to a match at Money in the Bank later on in the evening. Now, this really wasn't a match that like had huge implications or
no.
even really did anything on the show. It was kind of an exhibition match, kind of just to kind of fill time. But it was nice to see that the crowd was really into Octagon Jr. and they were into something different, something new. But Dirty Dominic Mysterio, man, he's starting to get really popular.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to do something about that because
Yeah.
you kind of just you can't have him be the bad guy and yet have everybody cheer him over the actual face and the whole thing. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But yeah, the match itself, I mean, it wasn't horrifically offensively bad. It was just there. It
Hmm.
wasn't. I mean, could you have kept it off the card and it wouldn't have affected the show? Probably. I mean, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have moved the needle one way or the other.
Right. Yeah.
It was also really like short. It was
Really
like
short.
really short, but it also wasn't like a one-sided match either. It was a good back and forth. But yeah, it was solid. I mean, there's nothing really else to say. It was just good. It made them both look good, and yeah, they really need to do something about Dom because yeah, people are starting to like him a little too much for a bad guy.
Yeah, I ended up giving this one a nice solid 3 1/4 flames out of 5. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't anything outrageous, spectacular, mind blowing, nothing really noteworthy. It was kind of thrown together last minute, but again, it was nice to see that the crowd was really into Octagon Jr. and also Dominic Mysterio. So subsequently, they were into the match.
Yeah, I agree, and I also gave it 3 1/4 flames.
There you go. We're still on the same page.
Still going.
Next match was we saw Lyra Valkyria defend the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Becky Lynch. This was hard hitting. This was, I would say, as good as what we would expect from the third match, because there was one on NXT, then they had the one at Backlash, and now this one here at Money in the Bank. The only thing I hated this match was the very ending,
Yeah.
kind of the abrupt roll up, and then Becky with the tights getting the win. I was just like, it happened so fast that they didn't let any drama build up for it, and
Yeah.
it just kind of happened.
Yeah, and I also didn't like the I don't know if they really did this on purpose or they tried to make it sound like they did this on purpose, but the camera angle was kind of shit.
Yeah, it
Like,
was, because you couldn't really tell if she was just holding on to her or she really did have the tights, which she did.
yeah, and then it was hilarious because if you saw like the secondary angle that they showed, you can literally see three camera people in the actual area where you could have just gotten an angle of her grabbing the tights. So I'm like, who screwed up somewhere? But yeah, the match itself was again pretty much what you expect with Becky and Lyra. They have fantastic chemistry. Yeah, the ending. It was it's like I get that, and I mean they kind of alluded to it during the match where Michael Cole was like, "Oh yeah, well, you gotta admit that Lyra beat her twice using really quick pins and blah blah blah." And I'm like, I really hope that doesn't have to come back later to mean anything, and of course it did, but yeah, I mean, they could have done it better, especially since they weren't going to have the Superman handle slam be the ending, which is fair because I mean, you want to make Lyra look good, and obviously her kicking out of that is a big deal.
Mhm.
So I get that they had to kind of do a sleazy way to have Becky win, which is that was what they were going to do all along. I'm not mad at that. It was just kind of the execution of it was a little like, ugh. It
Yeah.
I don't know. Like you could have had something like Becky could have distracted the ref, and Becky could have like hit her with the belt or something, or could have ran her into an exposed turnbuckle or something
Yeah.
else.
Something
Not
like that.
just oh we're in a pinning lock up roll up and oh that's it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
because there was no drama built into it. It just kind of happened. So like you instead of being shocked that it happened, you were shocked that it was over.
yeah, exactly. Because I'm just like, and again the camera angle just didn't help either because you're sitting there going, okay, I think she got the tights. I'm like, okay, they're gonna have to show a replay of that, and then they showed the actual replay, and I'm like, you mean to tell me you had three cameramen on the other side and you couldn't get a better angle, even for the replay of that? Okay, I guess someone was sleeping in the control room or whatever, but no, I don't really think the ending took away from the match. Again, it was still a very solid match.
Yeah.
I can't complain. Was it the best one out of the three? Um, I still think Backlash was their best, but still very good. And like I said, still a very good end to the trilogy. We kind of saw it coming, Becky winning, because again, that whole stipulation she had, you kind of couldn't have her lose or couldn't have her lose, and then that whole oh she can't have another title match as long as Lyra's champion because we've kind of seen that blow up before. So the stipulation kind of was a little telegraphy, but
Yeah.
still it was good though. And then Lyra got her revenge in the end because Becky had to be an absolute asshole about it, as only Becky can. So it was a little drama at the end. But yeah, I'd say definitely a solid match and didn't get outshined by the ladder matches. I think.
Right, right. Now, the caveat to the match was that since Becky Lynch was able to defeat Lyra Valkyria would have to raise her hand in victory, which she did. And she also, posed for each side of the ring like Becky
Hmm.
wanted her to. Becky took it a step further and forced Lyra to strap her up and put the
Yeah.
Intercontinental Championship on her, which she did, but she also dropped her with a Nightwing out of frustration after being, prodded and prodded. So I thought that was pretty cool. It carried over to Monday Night Raw, where
Hmm.
Becky was complaining that because Lyra was extra aggressive in raising her hand, she hurt her shoulder and she had no reason to hit her with a Nightwing. So she wanted Lyra to do it again. And as Lyra was coming down to the ring very angrily and
Yeah.
she had that face on. She had that Lyra face,
Oh
and
yes.
she was not pleased whatsoever. But Becky gets attacked by the returning Bailey.
Thank God.
So now Bailey is back, and now there's a situation. Maybe we can get some Bailey versus Becky Lynch matches for the Intercontinental Championship, which I would love to see because I know those two have amazing chemistry with each other.
Yeah, I can't wait. I hope that's where they're going. I'm just still laughing about the whole stipulation because we talked about it last week on the predictions episode. It's just such a not even just a heel thing. That's such a Becky heel thing to do where it's like, yeah, you know what? You beat me 2 out of 3 times, but this third time, if I beat you, I'm going to be the better person, even though you beat me the last 2 times. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's such a Becky thing. And it just made me laugh. It's just so ridiculous and obnoxious that you can't help but laugh at it. So you know what? Good for Becky. Good for Lyra for not putting up with her shit though. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they can do with her and Bailey because that's gonna be some good stuff.
Right. And I also want to see what's going to happen with Lyra Valkyria too, because
Yeah,
she's become one of my favorite like
yeah,
people to watch
she's
in the
good.
ring. She is so freaking good in the wrestling ring. Like I love watching her matches. I love seeing what she could do. And with that Intercontinental Championship, she was being featured basically almost every week.
Yeah,
So somebody in the back must have saw her and said, yeah, she's a solid worker. She's a solid hand. We need to show her as often as possible. And I hope that they continue with that.
yeah. I'm hoping because God knows she's earned it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I ended up giving this match 3.5 flames out of 5. What about you?
three, 3.5 flames out of 5.
Stop copying my
You know,
homework.
like, can you make it just not look obvious if you copied it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
We'll
Just
see. We'll see.
copy every single answer. Why don't you?
Okay, let me like put it as like 3.51. There you go. I didn't copy it.
There you go. There you go.
Close
All
enough.
right. All right. So the next match after that one was the men's Money in the Bank ladder match that saw Seth Rollins, Penta, El Grande Americano take on Andrade Solo Sikoa and LA Knight, a 6-person ladder match, and the winner would be Mr. Money in the Bank. This one was all out chaos.
Oh
This was just nuts. Uh there were the ladders were being used like crazy.
The
Then
fireball ladder.
the fireball ladder was just insane. Everybody, because now the whole big thing everybody wants to gripe about is the corporate branding of everything that is being used in WWE. All the sponsors
Yeah.
get sponsored on the tables, on the LED boards, on the ring mat. Now they're getting sponsored on the ladders. But I mean, that what was
They
that
got
like
it on the briefcases too.
yeah, even on the briefcases, Jesus. But that ladder, that was like a 15-20 foot ladder, and it just made for a lot of fun. Like, because
Yeah.
once they put that ladder up, I guess it was a sturdier ladder because
Yeah.
nothing you could do to it would tip it over. I mean, they literally catapulted El Grande Americano, and he used the ladder to vault up the fireball ladder,
Yeah, it
and
didn't
like
move.
it didn't even move. It like he banged up against it and it didn't even budge.
No. It was like All right. I mean, granted, if you're gonna have someone sponsor your ladder, you better make it the most sturdiest ladder you have.
And
And
then
then it ended up getting broke anyway, which sucked. But it was, yeah, it was impressive because I'm
yeah.
like, why? Because for the longest time in that match, I'm like, why are all of these ladders so small? What the fuck's going on? And then they bring that one out, and I'm like, that's why.
Yeah,
Had to
because
overcompensate.
I was yeah, every ladder they would bring out, I'm like, yeah, they could probably get the briefcase with that ladder, and other ladders I was just like, that ladder is a little too short, so that might just be used as a weapon. But this was all out chaos, and then all of a sudden, you have Seth Rollins' crew being Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed come out and start wreaking havoc. And then all of a sudden, Jacob Fatu's music hit, and he and JC Mateo come out, and everybody was just like, "Oh shit,
Shit.
here we go!" Like, could you imagine a tag team match? Jacob Fatu, JC Mateo versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed.
Put it on
I
SummerSlam.
They need to like reinforce the ring, but I don't think now it's gonna happen because
No.
now we find out because of what happened on SmackDown and Jacob Fatu overhearing Solo Sikoa kind of talk down upon him to
Yeah.
JC Mateo, and he found out. Now we go from I love you Solo to I hate you Solo. It is
Yeah.
over. The love affair between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. I think this one is headed towards SummerSlam, and we're definitely going to see that happen.
Oh, and it's gonna be good too. And I'm honestly glad because I feel like the interference in this match could have easily been like a deterrent in this where it's like, okay, I mean, did we really need this? This is kind of ridiculous, whatever. But no, I think it added to the match, at least for
Yeah,
me, because it furthers some storylines. Like you said, we got that big showdown between those four guys where it's like, oh shit, this is a big fucking deal. This is gonna be fun. And then you have the whole thing with Jacob and Solo now and set up Rollins winning the belt, which we both saw coming a mile away. I feel like this one was also a little less clunky than the women's. I feel like it kind of went a little smoother, I guess.
yeah.
There's a couple like slip ups here and there, but you're kind of expecting that in a match like this. It's never going to be clean, but no, it was chaos. It was just chaos everywhere. Poor LA Knight though. I feel like a lot of people were upset he didn't win. At least from the initial reactions I saw on Twitter, it was like, what more does this man have to do to win? And they even said it on the commentary, where this was a third Money in the Bank in a row, so maybe this is the charm. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's not.
Maybe not.
It's not gonna be, but then it's fine. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, Rollins winning. It's not really a shock. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him this time. I think a lot of people were expecting something to happen on Raw, and it did not because that was already
Right.
wow in and of itself. I don't think it really needed it, but yeah, match was good. Can't complain. We we were both right on the predictions, so I was definitely happy about that one. But yeah, that was probably, at least I think, the better of the two ladder matches in the night. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what do you see? What do you see the future plans Seth Rollins might have for the Money in the Bank briefcase?
Well, that was I had an answer until Raw, and then I'm like, well, that plan went straight out the window because I thought he was going to do something with Jey, and that's not happening now because obviously, spoiler if you didn't watch Raw this week, but Gunther beat Jey in the main event last night, which was fucking wild. I fully was not expecting that. But
Neither was I. I don't know if you saw my reaction. I posted it,
yeah,
but I was
you were
just
sitting there in shock.
We literally sat there for like 15 minutes after Raw went off the air and was just like, did that really just
Yeah,
happen?
I stood at my island counter after watching it, and I think I may have said a couple times in a row, what the fuck just happened? What just happened? What's going on?
I was that whole sequence of me not saying anything in that clip is actually like maybe 30 seconds longer.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
so dumbfounded after last night on Monday Night Raw what happened in that main event, because and I know we're getting sidetracked, but damn, we got to talk about it. That in itself was insane.
Yeah, and I was seeing some people throw this around a little bit, and I would have to agree. I feel like that match on Raw was little better than their match at WrestleMania.
Oh no, it definitely was, without
It
a
was.
doubt.
Yeah, I won't know if I don't think I'm in that general reaction of some people where it was what the fuck was that? Why did that happen? Like angry. It's more
Mm.
like, oh wow, okay, they're doing that. I'll save my judgment for that depending on what they do with it, because they clearly have some plans that we sure as hell don't know about. Because I feel like a lot of people, like myself included, would have expected Rollins to go after Jey at some point, especially with the briefcase. But I think it also kind of makes sense story wise, where they could easily just say to Jey, well, you were spreading yourself too thin. You were too worried about
Mm.
Cena and Cody and all that.
Yeah, that's exactly the story. And that's why I'm trying to explain to people that this, like you said, you weren't necessarily angry at the outcome. You were just surprised and shocked, but it's not necessarily
Yeah.
that you hate the outcome, because the story was Jey Uso was doing everything except keeping his focus on keeping the world heavyweight title. He was looking out for Cody. He was looking out for Sammy. He was getting into tag team matches. He was getting jumped by Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed with the tsunami that crushed his ribs. And Gunther even told him, like, your Gunther, which was out of character for Gunther to
Yeah.
come to his opponent and warn his opponent, like, hey, I think you're screwing up. And
Yeah.
most people would just take advantage of that, and Gunther was at least nice enough to warn him and say, hey, you're spreading yourself too thin, and I'm not going to take it easy on you. And that's exactly what happened, and it threw everything into a whirlwind. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. And now with Seth Rollins as the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, that's another wrench in the wheel. Like, you don't know how that's going to go. I honestly see with this King of the Ring tournament and the winner getting an opportunity at SummerSlam, I see Sami Zayn winning the King of the Ring, getting the opportunity against Gunther, beating Gunther, and then Seth Rollins coming in and ruining his night.
Yeah, I could easily see that. That would be pretty interesting. I'm wondering if, well, I don't know if this is going to actually happen, but maybe this might turn Jey kind of to the dark side a little bit, instead of, I mean, it could go one of two ways. He can take accountability himself, or he can blame Cody, he can blame other people.
Yeah.
You could easily see it going either way, but I'd be very interested to see if there is like an actual, like, maybe confrontation between Cody and Jey, where Jey starts to get a little pissy at him. It's like, well, if I didn't have to worry about your shit, maybe I could have focused on mine. And Cody's like, that's your problem, not mine. You could have focused on it. You just didn't.
I love that, especially for the simple fact that they could easily down the road give Jey back the World Heavyweight Championship, and it wouldn't even make a difference because his popularity with the crowd is not going to diminish.
Oh no, they don't care if he has a title one way or the other. He's still probably their top merch person. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, just the crowd reactions, and then him incorporating kids as he's coming down to the ring, like it all just works. So eventually, I honestly think Jey Uso is going to get the World Heavyweight Championship back, and it's going to follow that story that you kind of laid out, where like everybody is kind of going to get the cold shoulder, and Jey Uso is going to put himself first, because now second time coming, he realizes that like everything he was putting himself out there for didn't help him retain the World Heavyweight Championship.
Exactly. Again, give us a pencil. We got this.
Yeah. So as far as the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men, I gave it 3 3/4 flames out of 5. What about you?
3 3/4 flames out of 5.
Stop copying me.
Why are you so popular? Why are you so obsessed with my prediction?
I'm telling you. All right, so now we come to the main event of the evening, Money in the Bank, and it is a tag team match, and it was, at the time, World Heavyweight Champion Jey Uso teaming up with the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, to take on Logan Paul and John Cena. And this one was kind of, in the beginning, very slow, very plotting.
Yeah.
It kind of picked up when there ended up being tension between Cena and Logan Paul. Like, they couldn't get on the same page, and they almost looked like they were about to come to blows. That's when I kind of perked up in my seat, and I was like, oh, this is getting good now. We got some problems.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of pedal to the metal. I mean, everything that happened with Jey Uso being laid out on the commentary table and then Logan Paul hitting that acai moonsault through the table. And these are not like those tables that they used to have on commentary.
No.
These are those brand new heavy duty reinforced tables. So like you literally saw bodies bouncing off the table, especially when he hit that moonsault. You saw Jey Uso's body fly like 5 feet in a different direction.
Yeah, it looked very painful, which maybe that's like a new like detail that they've worked on to make it look a little more painful and probably actually physically more painful. So I'm sure the performers don't really appreciate it, but you got to make it look good. I don't know about you, but when I realized this was the main event, I couldn't help but think why. I said this better be good. There better be a good fucking reason that this is the main event, because if not, I'm going to scream. I'm going to fucking scream. And about the first half of that match, I'm just like sitting there, like trying not to lose it, because I'm like, this is what we waited the whole night for. And I mean, granted, again, you only had 4 matches, but you waited for this. And then it finally started picking up, and I'm like, all right, fine, this is whatever, but I'm still kind of waiting for why the fuck was this the like the main event of the pay per view. And then the ending happened, and I'm like, well, there they go, eating my words, because I'd say that was definitely a unexpected ending to that match for sure.
For sure.
You could have fooled me. I never in a million years thought that R-Truth was coming back, and they got us. They got us.
Did. They did so soon too.
Yeah.
And this is a thing where we must reiterate that this was not a work, as they say in wrestling.
No.
This was real life. R-Truth was let go by the company, and the only reason R-Truth is back in the company is because the people, the fans, would not allow it. They were going to get louder and louder, and I mean, I don't want to give WWE too much credit in this situation, because they never should have got rid of R-Truth in the first place. If you look at people as people instead of numbers and employees and revenue generators, you will see that R-Truth is a precious commodity, not only to your company, but to the morale of your locker room, and he's an invaluable asset to you. But you only see that if you look at him as a person and not as a number that generates revenue for you. And I feel like that's, again, like I said last week on the podcast, I think we're just not used to the corporate culture of
the ruthlessness.
Yeah, because this is something that probably happens in other corporations that are worth billions and billions of dollars, but we've never had this situation with WWE before, because WWE was always owned by McMahon, and it was, a publicly traded company. Now they have shareholders, and they have a board and all this other stuff, and so now they're looking at each individual wrestler as a revenue generator, and they're looking at it as, how much have you done for me lately? And unfortunately, R-Truth fell victim to that, and they didn't look at the intangibles that you don't see with someone like R-Truth, and that is, R-Truth makes people happy and makes people happy to come to work.
Yeah.
Because and especially in a business where you're always on the go, you're always traveling, you're never home, you never see your family. The only people you do see hound you for autographs. You can't go out in public. It's a dog eat dog business. And sometimes having someone like R-Truth there to kind of lift your spirits is invaluable. And so I don't think the TKO board took that into consideration. But what about the reception that R-Truth got when he revealed himself to be the attacker of the match?
That was wild. I bet he felt very vindicated when he heard that, because he's just like, yeah, that's what I fucking thought. That's what you were getting rid of me. But obviously I don't want to go too far into it, because I think Mom's first question has to do with that whole situation. So I will save it for, I don't know, 5 minutes from now. But but yeah, the match itself was all right. I mean, again, it was very slow at the beginning, but I'm glad they did kick it into another gear, because if they wouldn't have, and R-Truth wouldn't have come back, people would not have been pleased, to say the least.
And I, as much as I hate to do it, you got to give Logan Paul credit for that drone
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
drone spot was very creative.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before in my life in a wrestling match, being that up close. And then like he grabs the drone, Cody hits the superplex, and then Jey Uso comes out of nowhere crashing in with the Uso splash, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it was just like they pressed on the gas pedal at a certain point and just went for it. And
Yeah.
it was just nuts. Definitely caught me off guard with the outcome of the match being Cody and Jey Uso winning. But again, I think it was a perfect thing to do with the return of R-Truth, and R-Truth making himself a factor in the deciding moments of the match.
Yeah, I feel like we were a little mad because that was the one thing that we got wrong. Well, never mind. Collectively, that was you and I. That was the one match where we both were unfortunately wrong with the outcome on that one, which is like, you know what, fine, we'll take it. But yeah, it definitely was a pretty solid ending to the show, especially the ending of the match itself. So I ended up giving it 3.5 flames.
That's funny. I ended up giving it 3.5 flames too.
Yes, every single solitary match. See, we couldn't get the predictions all together, but we got the ratings.
We got the ratings. How about that?
That's the more important thing, I guess.
I guess.
We'll take it.
That's just so interesting that we're so lockstep with the ratings.
It doesn't surprise us anymore. Shouldn't surprise the listeners either. They've listened long enough to know that we're pretty on brand with this.
Yeah. Again, going back to the beginning and how you felt for the overall event, it seems like nowadays WWE is so polarizing that I don't know if they can get anything 100% right for the fans to be on board.
Yeah, they're always going to be nitpicked to hell at this point, which you can't really feel sorry for them because it's of their own doing, but it's also just like fans are fans, where it's like you're never going to please 100% of people 100% of the time, but it sometimes takes it to the extreme. But that's just the internet wrestling community in a nutshell. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a solid show. Again, there were some things here and there where it was a bit clunky and a bit, off a little bit, but it didn't take away from the show as a whole. So I think for the show overall, I gave it 3.5 flames.
Nice. I didn't rate the show, but if I had to rate the show, I'm probably in that 3.5 range too. It was a solid show, nothing too crazy to blow. I feel like the ending of Raw was more shocking than anything that happened on Money in the Bank. But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, not necessarily a bad thing. Just again, it's just funny to be a wrestling fan in this day and age where like the internet commentary kind of takes it over. A friend of mine on Twitter is like, if you don't pay attention to the wrestling stands and those type of people on the internet, you're gonna have an okay time being a wrestling fan. When it gets bad, when you start consuming that sort of content and taking what they have to say to heart, because then that just takes away from the wrestling. If you just focus on the wrestling and then focus on what you like and not making a big deal and not trying to nitpick the negative out of everything, you're going to actually enjoy professional wrestling. It's actually a lot of fun when you don't nitpick it.
It's almost as if that's like pretty much just enjoying things in a nutshell. Is
right, yeah.
Taking the good with the bad, because you're never going. I mean, granted, there's always like, to some people, certain 10 out of 10 masterpieces that can never be replicated and never be beaten. But it's also just like, if you can, and again, this is such a hard thing for some people to wrap their heads around, where if you can objectively look at something and say, yes, it has problems, but I can still enjoy it because X, Y, and Z, then you're perfectly fine. Like, that's just how it's supposed to go. But I don't think some people really understand that concept. It's either it has to be 10 out of 10 or it's terrible, it's trash, it's the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of everything. So
and in wrestling, more than likely your favorite is not going to get the comeuppance, or they might get the comeuppance, but it might be in the case of Jey Uso, just 51 days later, they get
Yeah.
the knife stabbed back at him. It happens. That is
Yeah.
wrestling.
And 9 times out of 10, if you're a fan of a certain wrestler, you're going to be in the fucking trenches for pretty much their entire career.
It's like
Just ask. It's great. I hate it.
it's like Game of Thrones. They tell you not to have a favorite character because that person most likely just dies.
Yeah,
It's
true.
it's basically like don't root too hard for your favorite to win every match because more than likely they won't.
Yeah, and it's very tough because you're kind of it's almost like you're stuck in a perpetual like cycle of hell
Yeah.
because either like okay, I guess like I'll just take myself for example. So if you like someone like Rhea Ripley, which I do, and it's very
Mhm.
obvious, it's well of course you like her because she's mainstream. She's like what the top woman in the company. Of course you're gonna like her, blah blah blah. So it's like you could be in some people's minds for whatever reason considered a fake fan because you like the top person, and it's just like that's fucking weird, but okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like also too, you kind of have those like elitist fans of certain wrestlers, where it's like, well, I've been around when they were in this indie promotion 15 years ago, so I know better than you, and it's just like I don't get in the middle of that. That's just exhausting. So it's like you
Yeah.
have that end of it where you may or may not be seen as a fair weather fan because of course you're going to like the mainstream star. And then you have the other side of it where you like the maybe like lesser popular, lesser known wrestlers like say a Dakota Kai or a Shayna Baszler where you're in a constant state of, well, I just hope they don't get released. And then they do. And then you're just like, okay, well, I hope some other company can see them in a better light or use them better maybe, but then you can't always just assume that that's going to be the case because I saw this I saw this tweet and it was so fucking funny to me where they did like the all elite graphic but put LA Knight on there,
Ooh.
and someone quote tweeted that and said AW is not the end all say all of every like failed WWE project. Like, okay, even if they were and they took on every single solitary wrestler that WWE quote unquote failed or didn't see their full potential, guess what? Inevitably, they're going to get lost in the shuffle too because you're just going to keep signing people for the sake of sticking it to WWE
Yeah.
with no real plan. So it's like, okay, he doesn't have to go. Even if he would go somewhere, he doesn't have to go there. He could go to TNA. He can go to Japan. He can. There are other places besides WWE and AEW. Like it's really
Yeah.
not that hard to understand, but
Yeah.
for some people it is. But
I tell you.
anyway, get off my soapbox
It's
now.
no, it's just it's an interesting time because I didn't see this coming. I figured Triple H is taking over. Everything is going to be just like it was for like Black and Gold NXT. Everything is great. Everything is fantastic. And to me, I'm enjoying the product way more than I've been for a very long time.
Yeah.
I love what the product is doing. If they brought me in to be like, well, how could we improve? I would just be like, hey, do whatever it is that you're doing because it's working.
Yeah.
Obviously, they keep breaking records. They keep breaking ticket gate records and merchandise records. And Worlds Collide was their most viewed YouTube event they've ever had. You
Yeah.
know, so it's just like whatever you're doing. You see, that's the thing. It's so weird. There's a difference between the paying customer for the WWE and the internet consumer for the WWE.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. Like they're watching two different programs almost.
Yeah. Yeah. It does seem like that sometimes, doesn't it? Yeah. It's a very weird thing, and again, I'm not going to get too much into it because I think we have a question about it in a minute. But yeah, there's two sides to that whole story, but we'll get into that
All right. Well,
in a minute. But
why don't we do that? Why don't now that
yeah.
we've finished up with Money in the Bank, we have some great questions lined up to answer. So why don't we get into it? What's the first question on the docket?
All right. So we got questions from Mom this week. So thank you, Mom, as always.
Thanks, Mom.
So of course we're going to start hot, like we kind of alluded to earlier. What are our thoughts on the whole R-Truth situation? She doesn't think TKO liked having to bring him back. Oh, I can guarantee you they didn't. They didn't like
Yeah.
having. And the worst part is you can't even say they didn't like to admit that they were wrong, because that's the wild thing about this. They didn't fucking admit they were wrong. Like, just that was the thing that kind of got me was in the press conference afterwards. Triple H really tried to like spin it as, guys, it was just part of the show. Come on, don't you trust me? Like, this was all a part of the plan. And it's just like, yeah, except we see right through you when it comes to that shit. Like, it wasn't all a part of the plan. You guys are pissed because you pissed off 99% of the locker room and 99% of the fan base. So you
Right.
kind of had to eat your own crow, essentially, and bring him back because you never should have it, let him go in the first place.
Right.
So yeah, you just look at that answer he had in that press conference and you just shake your head because it's like, it is okay to just sit there and say, look, we made a financial decision. We made a mistake. We shouldn't have done it. We're just glad to have him back. Do something other
Right.
than, no, guys, it was all the part of the plan. It's like, because it wasn't. It really wasn't. But
It's so hard for these people to tell the truth sometimes, and no pun
yeah,
intended. Like, it's just like
yeah,
it's
it's
just
still good.
like, because like honestly, if they would have did exactly what you said and mapped it out exactly the way you said it, the fans would have looked at that and said, "Hey, that's some goodwill." They're admitting when they did wrong, and they rectified the situation, because again, there's nobody that would be happy about this, and the only way you come to this decision to let go of R-Truth is if you look at R-Truth as a number and not as a human being. You look
Yeah.
at him as just an employee and what type of revenue he's generating as an employee, and that's about it. That's the downside of being a billion-dollar corporation. It's basically soulless.
Yeah, and it just wasn't a smart decision, at least on Triple H's part, because especially with the whole thing going on with R-Truth and all the recent firings and whatnot, people are kind of starting to lose faith in him, starting to lose trust in him, because you kind of can't really hide behind well, he can only do so much because TKO tells him what he needs to do. But then you have reports coming out like with Sean Ross Sapp where it's like, if they wanted to keep them around, he would keep them around. He's just choosing not to. So you're kind of losing the goodwill with the fans. And they literally gave you a layup. They gave you a softball pitch of, this is how you can get some goodwill back. Where it's just like, okay, it was still shitty you guys got rid of him, but I'm glad you can at least admit you're wrong. But to just go out there and be like, nah, it was all part of the plan.
Yeah.
It's like, don't insult the fans' intelligence like that, because they see right through you, and now guess what? They trust you even less because you
Yeah.
could have just admitted it was wrong, it was a mistake, and the fact that you tried to spin it as the fans were being paranoid and the fans were wrong, and oh, we knew what we were doing all along, you guys just didn't trust us. It's like, yeah, because you're kind of not giving them a reason to, and that sure shit isn't giving them a reason to either. So, not smart on his part, but a little late now, but at least they were kind of, again, ate shit and just brought him back because they should have, because again, they never should have let him go in the first place. But sadly, that is corporate America in a nutshell. It doesn't even have to be WWE or TKO or whatever. That's just corporate America. But
Gee, even when John Cena tries to work him into his retirement tour, so that
yeah,
way they can see that he's a valuable member of the WWE structure in terms of the company morale and employees and stuff like that. John Cena himself went to bat for R-Truth,
yeah,
and they still. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game.
yeah.
Like, you're just a number. You're not even a person. You're not even a human entity. You're just a number, and the number is what kind of money can you bring into us.
Yeah, it's a very hard moral compass to kind of like stay on track with, because you kind of have to put the moral compass in your pocket for a little bit, because you're not going to be able to justify it. Like, there's no way you can easily justify it and not look like an idiot to somebody. So yeah, it's great. It's a very morally dubious kind of thing sometimes, but that's just again, that's corporate America in a nutshell, unfortunately. But
Yeah, sounds like it.
speaking of corporate America, so I don't know if you saw this, but supposedly there's this rumor going around, and I don't know if there's any truth to it, but Mom had saw it and wanted us to kind of talk about it, that supposedly the big reason that TKO's moving WrestleMania out of New Orleans and back into Vegas, which I'm just like, that couldn't have been any worse news for somebody like the normal working class person trying to go to a WrestleMania. But is apparently the TKO is $3 billion in debt right now,
I don't.
supposedly. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Don't take what we say as fact or truth. This is just what supposedly has been kind of circulating on the Twitter and online and whatnot. And I can see why that would make sense, especially since you're gonna be making a lot of money going into WrestleMania being in Vegas again, which is sad because his mom put it on her comment. It's no wonder WrestleMania is in Vegas again to price the blue collar fan out of attending, which is unfortunately the sad truth because we've talked about it how many times on this show where the same seats I paid for WrestleMania 40 in Philly were $75 for the 2-night combo, and you turn around and try to get something comparatively to that in Allegiant Stadium for Vegas last year, and it was $1,500 for the same seats essentially. So
Yeesh.
yeah, it's not great, and it's sad. And we've talked about it before where it's that morally gray area where normal fans are either A, not going, or B, putting themselves into debt to go to these shows because it's so fucking expensive. And WWE, at the end of the day, doesn't care because, number one, they're getting their money one way or the other. Someone's going to spend money on those tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And then are going to turn right around and be like, hey guys, we broke another record because we broke a revenue record on this pay-per-view, or we broke this record on whatever. And it's like, yeah, no shit. That's what happens when, say, yeah, you may have 500 people spend, I don't know, this is just a terrible example, but it's best I got, where it's like you have 500 people spending $100 on the same seats. Yeah, you can make money that way, but if you can have 20 people spend 3 times as much, you're still going to make more money at the end of the day, which is sad. And it's just like, well, fuck the other hundreds of people that would want to spend money on those tickets. Like, even for the there's a TV taping in Pittsburgh. I think it's coming up this month, if I remember correctly. And even the upper level, I remember used to be like $45, we'll just say, for seats. Not bad, pretty cheap. Yeah, now I think I was seeing like lower level, like upper level seats for like $150.
Jeez.
And it's just like, you can just watch it, which sucks because it's like you hate having to justify, well, it would be better off just having friends over and watching it at home for free and spending that money on like food and whatever, as opposed to, okay, well, we spent technically $300, but then you get the goddamn Ticketmaster fees all over with, and it's essentially another $75 to $100. And that's not even counting how are you getting there, or how much are you spending on food, or what are you doing for, like, are you buying alcohol? It's just like, these poor people, like Mom says, the blue collar American people are getting priced out of these shows. And the sad reality of it is TKO and WWE don't give a fuck because they're getting their money one way or the other.
Yep, it's a dog-eat-dog world.
Yeah, it's sad. And
It
again,
is.
we talked about it earlier. It's kind of that unfortunate reality as a wrestling fan that you kind of have to accept and put the moral compass in the back pocket if you want to at least somewhat enjoy the shows and the product and whatever, is that you're going to be a number to them, and you're always going to be a number to them no matter how much they try to say otherwise. And it's just it's a very weird thing to understand, and I'm sure we are both not qualified to talk about that in like a socio-economic kind of sense, but
yeah,
it's not great. It's not a great feeling sometimes.
It's not. But I don't know about the $3 billion in debt. That sounds kind of, I don't know. That just kind of sounds like out of left field. I feel like they'd be hitting the panic button if they were losing that much money.
But if you think about it, some of their moves have kind of made sense in a way,
In a
where
way,
all of a
like,
sudden you have all of these firings all of a sudden. I mean, granted,
yeah,
it's not like the firings came out of the blue. They've been doing this for years. So that's not new, but it's just like it's kind of like when all of these collective things are happening in a sequential order, it starts to kind of you kind of like look at them a little weird.
right.
So you do
I
all of that, and then on top of, oh yeah, actually we're moving it out of New Orleans to Vegas again. That kind of raised some eyebrows because it's like, okay, you're gonna clearly make more money in Vegas than you are in New Orleans, which is
right.
unfortunately that's just a fact. So it's kind of coincidental. It's a little iffy, but again, that was just a rumor. Don't take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
But
I think if anything, it might not be to that extent.
you would
Maybe
hope
they
not.
maybe they are losing money, but maybe it's not $3 billion worse. Because I feel like for a corporation that's board members and all that stuff, that's not like a private owned company, losing $3 billion is a big deal. So I feel
Yeah.
like there would be more panic. But there doesn't seem that sense, especially when they come out and every single press conference is, oh well, we broke another record. We did this here last time we were here, and we blew that out of water by doing this much tonight. So I don't know. I think it just depends on where you're getting the news from and the sources, because now everybody's a talking head. Like all of a sudden now I'm seeing rumors being started by Jonathan Coachman about like Vince McMahon potentially buying back the WWE, and I'm like, we're really gonna listen to Coach as
Yeah.
a viable source on this? I think
Yeah.
not. So it's just like sometimes you gotta watch where the sources are. But there most likely is some truth to it. There most likely is some truth to the fact that they might be losing some bottom line money, but
Yeah.
they probably recoup their losses every time they have an event, especially for the simple fact that at the end of the month they're going to Saudi.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big deal. And anytime they go to Saudi, they make that Saudi money.
Oh yeah, just
So
ask the people online, especially with the whole punk thing, because that's a whole mess we'll probably talk about next week. Because
that's going to be a lot of fun.
it's already a mess on Twitter. I just saw. I'm like, okay, like whatever.
I can't wait.
Anyway, so we're gonna move away from WWE now. We're gonna go over to AEW. So, who wins, Swerve or Osprey?
I want to say Osprey, but in these situations, Osprey always takes the L, and it's because he feels like he has to take the L, almost like
Yeah,
he's too scared to take the top reins of the company.
or they'll do the fun cop out of, well, we don't want either of them to lose, so we'll just do a double DQ because the Death Riders are getting involved or some shit. I don't know. Like that seems like an AEW kind of thing to do, where it's like, yep, we booked ourselves into a corner, so we're just gonna we'll just do the double, no contest, or maybe it'll be a time limit draw. Who knows?
Yeah,
I could
yeah,
see that
something like
happening.
that. If anything,
Maybe,
if track
but
record serves right, I
I don't
would go
know.
with Swerve.
It's AEW, man. They do love doing this on another 4-hour fucking TV show. It's just like, who thought
Yeah,
that was a good idea? Again,
last week was a chore.
yeah, and they're like, nope, we're gonna do it again 2 weeks in a row, and it's like, do you
Yeah,
guys just? I don't want to get too much
cause
into it.
and you know what the funny thing is, like I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? Because I do the streams on Wednesday for Dynamite, and I also do the next stream after that would be the Friday for SmackDown. And I'm
Yeah,
like, Friday SmackDown is a 3-hour broadcast, and it's a
yeah,
breeze.
yeah.
It is
Compared to
a
4 hours,
breeze. That 4-hour Dynamite was a struggle.
it was a struggle just to even watch. I couldn't even imagine
It
having to
was it
stream
was
during that.
it was tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was tough because it was too ain't shit shows smacked together. Like it was like
Yeah,
there's nothing on this card that makes me go, wow, this is gonna be, like I said during the stream, if you're gonna do this, give us a pay-per-view worthy card so that way we could be like, hey, this is what we're missing out when we're not buying the pay-per-views. you
yeah,
know I
yeah.
understand you can't do that 2 weeks in a row, but do something. Like
Anything.
I don't need the frat house or whatever it is on. Like, what are we doing here, AEW?
I don't think they know what they're doing sometimes, but
I mean, like every step forward is 3 steps back. Like we get Swerve and Osprey, and that's gonna be great. But what type of shit are we gonna have to sit through to get there?
this better not. I really hope this isn't going to be a recurring thing, like a frequent thing, because if it does, ugh, and people thought the 6 hour long pay-per-views were bad. They were like, hold my drink, just you fucking
It's
wait.
just a stale product. It's just a stale product. Nothing is hitting. The pay-per-views aren't hitting. It's just like I'm gonna buy All In, but that's kind of out of apathy. It's just like, well, it's their big show.
It's my pity
Hopefully,
buy.
yeah, hopefully they can really do a doozy on this one, because I don't know, man. Just Tony Khan is a matchmaker. He's not a booker. He's a matchmaker.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've said that plenty of times, and uh, it's just, I don't know. It's just a fucking mess. I mean,
Yes,
maybe,
it is.
who knows? Maybe they'll learn. Maybe they'll learn from this one. Maybe they'll be like, you know what, guys, we learned from last week. We'll do better this time. But even then, it's just like, maybe just do better by not doing it again. But I don't know. It's just anyway. So we're gonna end the show on a high note for me. Maybe not so much for you, unfortunately. But just wanted to say congratulations to me for retaining the predictions title. Which thank you. I worked very hard on that.
Wow.
Hey, you can take it up with her off air.
At 2, Mom? At 2?
It just like, I remember sitting in that sports bar, just sitting there laughing, being like, Eric's gonna be dealing with this the rest of the fucking night, because even just when they announced that was the first match, that was the first thing I thought of, was like, one of us is gonna be unhappy for the rest of this show, and it's not gonna be me. And guess what? It wasn't me.
You know what? It's okay. It's okay. Because, Night of Champions is coming up at the end of the month. We got a couple weeks before then. I can get my mind right and can focus on making the proper predictions. Definitely analyze the show a little tighter, because that title needs to come back where it rightfully belongs.
Get the graphs out. Be that meme of like the board with all the like threads and the Sharpies and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. That's gonna be me. I'm gonna nail down every single prediction.
And well, maybe we won't need a tiebreaker again. Who knows? But
maybe
it worked out for me last time that we didn't need one. But that's okay.
That's how you got lucky. That's how you got lucky.
Well, because thank Naomi for that one. I wouldn't go too hard on her though. She has razor blades in her hair. She'll fuck you up.
And not only that, she has a thing with people in wheelchairs, and I'm an easy target.
She might push you down the stairs if you keep it up. So watch it.
She would give me the Jade Cargill treatment easy.
Yeah, so watch it. Just be be careful there. But
yeah, I'm not even gonna approach that. That's too scary. Naomi scares me.
Yeah, probably smart.
Yeah, Naomi scares me. But I think that is the end of the questions, right?
Yeah, we did it.
We did it. We made it through this show. Thank you guys for listening. Okay, bye-bye. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, click off.
Yeah, click off, right? Bye-bye. No, just to let you guys know where you can get this podcast. It's available on every single podcast platform you can think of. All you have to do is search Ringside Rundown and hit the subscribe or follow button, whatever the platform asks of you, and you will never miss an episode of the Ringside Rundown podcast. If you need to find an episode, you can just hit us up on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Ringside Rundown. Hit us up in the DMs. Let us know what platform you use, and we will give you a link to the show on that platform. It comes on a silver platter, but if you think Naomi is scary, make sure you give that silver platter back, because it belongs to Shay's mom. And Shay actually taught Naomi everything she knows about going after people and blindsiding them. So
she had to get the razor blades from somebody.
Exactly. So Shay's mom is pretty scary. So make sure after you're done listening to the episode on your podcast platform, you give us back that silver platter because it belongs to Shay's mom. But again, this show is available on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find it. You can also find it on YouTube if you go to youtube.com/@ringside-run-pod. You can find full episodes of the podcast there if you don't use a podcast platform. Like I said, you can hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Ringside Rundown. We're also on TikTok at ringside_rundown. Now, the interesting thing about TikTok is now not only do I do streams on Twitch, but I also multi-stream on TikTok.
Yeah,
so yeah, we're moving up the ranks on TikTok. Everybody's coming through. It's crazy. You get like 500 to 1,000 views a night on TikTok. It's nuts. So
you're gonna become an influencer at some point. How's that feel?
Gross.
That's what I thought.
I didn't like that at all. But no. You could find it on TikTok as well as Twitch. We do shows Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturdays. We do live streams for all WWE and AEW content on Twitch and TikTok. Twitch.tv/ringside rundown, TikTok.com/@ringside_rundown. Shay, where can they get in touch with you if they want to hang out with you?
You can find me on Twitter at ShaileenHickson21. This weekend's going to be a fun one for me, not going to lie. I get to see Halsey in Cleveland, and I get to see Halsey the next night in Pittsburgh, so I'll be posting some pictures. And
you're like a makeshift roadie.
Yeah, that was honestly kind of the plan the whole time. That was kind of the running joke with my friends and family, was that if she was going to be touring anywhere near Cleveland and Pittsburgh, I was going to go to both shows, and she just so happened to have both stops within a day of each other. So
wow,
I got my tickets. I had to be a woman of my words. So
yeah, I'm excited. She didn't get priced out unlike WWE.
Yeah, because the concerts I go to are not expensive. Spirit Box didn't put me in debt. Halsey's not putting me in debt, not yet anyway.
Yeah,
Magnolia Park didn't put me in debt either. So
listen up, WWE, you're putting people in debt.
You really are, though. That's the sad thing, is that it's not even a joke. That is probably true just for some people. So yeah, knock that shit off. They're not, but
yeah, definitely hit up Shay, hang out with Shay. She's a great follow. You definitely don't want to miss those concert pictures. You always take great concert pictures. Those Spirit Box pictures were great.
Oh, those were so good. And the worst part is I got a couple like videos too. I got two, and it's sad it was only 2 clips, but I got 2 clips. One was during Hysteria, which is a really good song live. And what pissed me off, though, was that someone walked right in front of me right when she got to the chorus. So I had to like pause it and like restart it. So it fully just cuts off when she's going into the chorus. So it pissed me off. But I got a really good clip. If you follow me on Instagram, which is pretty much the same handle, I got a really good clip of them singing Black Rainbow, which goes really fucking hard live. So I do my best. I try to take some pictures, but not.
We need to get you some camera equipment, and you need to start filming these shows live and get in that way.
Yeah, honestly, I'm sure you might feel the same way. Shout out to those people on YouTube that will post like full concerts, like full concerts on their YouTubes, because that gets me through work sometimes, is watching full concert recordings. So you guys are the real ones. We appreciate it.
Definitely, for sure. Well, our next episode, I believe, is coming next Wednesday. Well, this episode is going to drop. If you're listening to it, it's probably Wednesday already. So our next episode is the following Wednesday, where we're going to be answering your questions about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. So if you have a question, do not hesitate to drop it. We have a Discord available. All you got to do is hit me up on social media if you want the link to a Discord. And we also have our section of the Discord where you can drop your questions there. Or you can wait till Monday when I post up the tweet on Monday asking for your questions. Please send us in some questions. Be a part of the show. We would love to have you a part of our little group here. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy what we do. This is episode 161.
It's like,
161.
still going.
We're still going strong and we're not going to stop. So
No,
we'll
we're not
see you
going
on the
anywhere.
next. Yeah, we're not going anywhere. So we'll see you on the next one, guys. For Shay Hickson, I'm Eric Vasquez. We'll see you on the next episode, guys. Take care.
See you later, guys.